So, we went through the setup for Dawn of the Zeds. Let's play around, shall we? And yes, again, let's load it up. Now, I will note, by the way, that before I basically start playing, I've never actually played this game before, and I figure that's worth basically pointing out. I may make some mistakes with the rules and stuff like that, perhaps. So just bear that in mind. Basically, this is my first time playing this game, so to speak. I have watched a YouTube video of someone else who played this game, so hopefully I'll be a little bit more on par of the rules and stuff. But just a minor disclaimer there is possible I might screw things up. So bear that in mind. All right, so. This is basically a step we basically had when I started the manual setup there. I'm just gonna click that up to get rid of it because we don't really need that. And well, let's just get going, shall we? So I'll note that when I basically started, I drew this card right here. So at the beginning of this phase, place the well-armed marker on any regular civilians in play. Until it ends up in a cemetery, that unit gets a +1 shift here in hand-to-hand and gunfire combat. So, cool. That's a really cool event card basically to have. So, okay. These are well-armed shifts here, by the way. So, well-armed and civilian leader. We're just gonna throw this onto one of my civilians here. So, which one? Let's just sort of fix these up a little bit here. Unfortunately, this isn't perfect, the markers, but whatever. It does the job well enough. Alright, now, I'll note that the well-armed marker, you probably want to throw it on your best civilian unit. And that's probably these guys over here. I don't like the fact that they're going to be fighting against a weak zombie going there's strong ones elsewhere, but there's always the possibility better ones spawning at some point, so that's fine. We'll just throw that right there for now. Those guys basically well armed, and when those zombies pop up to say hi to them, they'll let's deal with it there. All right, so I'll know how these event cards basically work. You basically do whatever's basically stated in the thing down here, and you basically go from left to right, basically in your actions. In the basic game, we're gonna basically ignore basically the 4R, the infection and the eating, but we still have to basically deal with Zeds actions as well as the civilian actions phase. So what this is basically saying here is that basically there's an activation on the forest and the mountain track. Basically that's what these little things right here mean. The forest symbol as well as the mountain symbol. And how it basically works in this game is that whenever there's an activation on a track, you basically move all the zombies on a track. So here's the forest track up here. These guys are going to basically move up one spot over here on the forest track. And the guys on the mountain track are going to move as well. So they're going to move up to here. Now, this event card basically says we basically get 2 event actions on his this turn here. So we basically get 2 event actions basically to play with. And then basically flips over to the player action turn. So here are basically heroes that basically chose from the setup. And they basically have their own actions as well as the event actions to play with as well as this player action. Let's just get to it, shall we? And by the way, you can see the sequence of play here. So you draw an event card. You have the 4R phase, infection phase, eat phase, Zed phase, action phase, and then housekeeping phase. So that's basically all the phases in this game. And for action, we basically do for heroes, we basically have a move action, a gunfire action, a force action, a character action. We can heal if we basically have people that heal us up. That's usually the savior corpse. And then like you have like build research and unrest and that does like different levels and stuff. Anyhow, let's just see what we're gonna do here. So we have a little bit of movement basically on this like track here, the forest track. So these guys are probably gonna be like in trouble very soon. These guys are in more trouble though because there's basically a much stronger unit basically coming around them, and it's only one away. So what am I gonna do? Well, first things first, I want to note that I want to basically get here, Mr. Johnson. I want to get him up to like the Lucky Strike mine as fast as possible. I'll note that this guy here is basically my forger, Mr. Johnson, and essentially I want to basically get him up to basically do some forcing action when we get to it. So I'll note there's like different spaces I want to go to with basically forge on. So if you basically go up to like the mine, which is basically like up here, that's basically where you basically get to like get like your bullets a lot easier. So we'll basically want to move like Mr. Johnson here up to like the Lucky Strike mine. It's essentially like 5 spots away, basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll note by the way that he can only move, I believe, up to like 4 movements here, as you can see with his arrow here. So for our first event action, we're just basically going to move Mr. Johnson. And he's going to basically move up to the campground, I think, for now. And I'll note by the way I basically moved him up to the campground basically for his first action because I basically want him basically to like not waste his turns and stuff like that, because I want to basically like use like the other like event actions to do stuff as well, right? So I'll note that like for my second action, I'm probably gonna move like Sheriff Hunt here. I think he'll probably move up to maybe help out these like defiant civilians up here. I think so. He basically has a movement of 4 as well. Oh wait, he's over here. Actually, all these guys basically have moves of 4 except for Captain Piazza. So that makes it a little bit simpler, but whatever. He's going to move up toward like these guys up here, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4 up here, I think, with him. So he can go up there. And we'll basically use up an action for that as well. Now, note by the way that this guy has a special ability called Leadership. And basically, once per action phase, he may spend his leadership marker to basically give a civilian or refugee unit in the space next to him 1 free action. And he can basically like use basically just like word like our civilians around like these guys. So I think with this action here, we're going to basically use these guys over here to basically force a little bit, these civilians. They are currently on the like St. Thomas like thing here, so that's basically Village Square. And if you go down here, basically you can see like like go to a town center, a farm, stuff like that, other namespace. Basically, if I roll a 6 here on like this civilian unit, I can possibly get like some ammo. So let's just do that right now. Here's our dice right here. And we're just going to flip it around here and just, roll around. So let's see what it gets. And I got 2. So a 2 is basically not enough to do anything with this guy here. So we basically waste our action like getting this guy to do anything. That's fine, but whatever. All right, so I'll note as well that this guy also has a special ability down here, Deputy Smith. He's got something called Initiative. So once per action, he receives a character action to spend his unit on his unit only. And basically what this does is basically this guy can do whatever he wants to for like a turn. So we're going to spend this and have this guy basically move somewhere else. So I guess I'll definitely spin basically go down toward this like sector down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 press of this guy. And we'll just move definitely spin over there with these like defiant civilians. He's basically going to try and back these guys up before like this like strength 5 unit basically comes around to say hi. And I still have my player action. So what am I going to do with that? I'll note that I'm thinking about moving Captain Piazza at some point, or the Farming Their Furies. And I think I want to move like the Farming Their Furies maybe up toward like, helping out over here. So let's move out my character action. I'll note by this player action you can basically spend on anything. This is basically how like you get like other people to move, basically like these like player actions and stuff. So we'll spend that. And I'm going to basically use it on this Farming Their Fury in here. Basically move these guys out. So 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. And my finger just went off there. This is sort of like, do like what we usually do in like the other like, Let's Plays first game. Let's get the good old MP3 player out. Let's move this over here, I guess, for now. Actually, let's move up here. And let's just, you know, pump out some music, basically, so I don't have to constantly turn on and off my headset and such. And this will work just fine. And we'll loop it. Alright, so we basically use my player action to move the Fire Furies up to like Trail 3 up here. And if I get the chance to, I'm going to try and use them to basically, like, you know, fight back these like zombies over here. And we'll see how that goes. But anyhow, that's basically all the stuff here spent. That's all the event action here spent. And I'm basically done my like turn. When you're basically done your turn, you basically, like, you know, throw the card away and draw a next event card. Or actually, I have to do housekeeping phase first. I'll note in the housekeeping phase first, which is basically like, you know, last phase here, basically like, you know, flip over tokens. So flip, flip, flip. Now I'm ready to go to the next turn. Alright then, so let's do that, shall we? The next event card. The hunting lodge located. Alright, so at the end of this phase, +2 ammo if a player unit is in a campground. Ooh. Place the goodies marker in a space as a reminder. Alright, so where is the goodies marker? Right there? There it is. Alright, we'll throw the goodies over here. There's goodies in the campground. Alright, so I'll note that this is basically a special like event where, like, you know, we can basically get some extra ammo if I basically leave, like, you know, Mr. Johnson here. And I was going to move him up to Lucky Strike Mine, but, you know, I won't mind getting that ammo right away, so I might just leave him there for now. And let's see what else is happening here. So, that'll be at the end of the phase, by the way, so I have to like wait till like the end of that. Before then, though, we have some movement on the mountain track. And on the Suburbs Track. Alright, so they didn't get there in time, and the zombies got to use to find civilians. Now, when a zombie basically enters a space of a defined civilian, they lose that marker. So this is gone. And hand-to-hand combat basically begins. Now, note by the way that, like, you know, on these like named spaces, you basically have a shift here, and that'll be important. But let's just go to our hand-to-hand combat here. So this is basically the hand-to-hand combat, like, you know, graph here. When you basically have, like, you know, a Z unit or, like, you know, something like that, basically enter, like, you know, into like the same space as, like, you know, one of your civilian units, hand-to-hand basically is initiated. And you basically have, like, you look at the columns basically to determine, like, you know, where, like, you know, you're going to be rolling your dice for. So basically we have, like, a stronger Z unit than our civilian unit. There are essentially two, like, you know, the choice is strong at basically civilian units, so basically have, like, you know, a Z strength +2. And there's also terrain shift because basically there's, like, you know, a terrain shift on its leftie's pass here. So basically what's going to happen here, how this basically works. The Zeds basically have an advantage of 2 here. So we're basically using this column to roll. But because we have a terrain shift, basically on a named space here, we basically have a shift over 1 to like the Zeds advantage of 1. So we're basically going to roll 2 die here and try and get, like, you know, basically an 8 or 9, basically to prevent my like, you know, civilian units from taking a lot of hits here. And you basically like see what happens if you roll badly as a result of, like, you know, a bad dice roll, but whatever. Alright, so we need 2 dice. And I got a roll. Alright, so I rolled an 11. And we're basically on the Z advantage of like track here. What this basically means is that there's going to be, like, you know, a couple hits they basically dished out. 2 hits basically go to the zombies. This is, like, you know, this column right here. And we also take a hit on our civilians. So basically what happens here, we have to apply a hit marker to our civilians. And I'll note, by the way, these guys basically have, like, you know, a total of, like, you know, 2 hits on this side here. And then they flip over and, like, you know, they have, like, you know, a wounded side. But right now they have a hit on them. These zombies took 2 hits as well. and more importantly, they got forced back. So these guys go back here, and that's basically it for like this like track here. Basically, like, you know, these guys charged up, they attacked these civilians. They didn't manage to win, but, you know, they did inflict an injury on them. And now we go to the Suburbs Track. That's down here. All right, so these guys get to advance 1 to 6th Street, and now we go up to like the player action phase. So we basically have 3 actions here to make use of. And at the end of the phase, we'll have access to, like, you know, the goodies marker. So if I basically leave Mr. Johnson here, we'll possibly be, you know, we'll basically get like the extra 2 ammunition. But anyhow, I gotta deal with these zombies basically that are like sort of like, you know, over here, I think, because I basically attacked these guys over here, and like, you know, I can't just let them be alone, I think. So our first action will involve using the Farmingdale Furies here to attack. So 1, 2, 3. They move down here to Trail 6 and attack the zombies in hand-to-hand combat. Now, note by the way that there's like no terrain shifts when you're basically attacking, and, you know, well, you basically don't have like any like defensive advantage when you're actually attacking anyways, right? So that's the thing. But anyhow, the Farmingdale Furies basically have you know, attack of 6, and they're attacking the zombies of 4. So we basically have a human advantage of 1. And it's no more terrain shifts, so that's fine. Now I have to read these guys' cards to see if there's anything important on them. So basically, these guys are brawlers. They can't use, like, you know, gunfire attacks. Basically, they're all like about melee, and they're also tough. So we'll possibly see that in a moment. But anyways, I have human advantage basically over here, and I basically have to roll, like, you know, better than, like, you know, 10 in order to like not take any hits, or I have to roll like a 7 or higher. Basically, like, I want to take 1 hit. Now, note by the way, like, you know, when you're basically attacking with like your units, well, I'll note by the way, like, you don't really want to attack basically, like, you know, in this game a lot with like units, but, you know, you usually want to use like gunfire attacks. But since these guys are like, you know, melee only, we have to use basically to charge them, lead these guys. So that's what they have to do. But we're just gonna roll again, and I got an 8. All right, so on a human advantage column, an 8 basically nets me 3 damage and 1 hit on my guys. So we'll show that in a moment. But basically, these guys basically take 3 hits. Now, note by the way, these guys, they basically have like a total of like, you know, 3 hit points on their, like, you know, side here. We'll flip them over, and now they're nearly dead. They now have basically only 2 strength, and they only got 1 hit left. Now, the Farmingdale Furies also took a hit, but they also have special abilities, guys. They're tough. So each time they receive a hit, they may roll a dice. So we're going to do that right now. We'll take this one right here, I guess. And I roll a 4. Now, what tough basically does here is that when they basically, like, you know, roll 4 or higher, their hit is cancelled. So they didn't actually take a hit. They actually, like, just, like, you know, shrugged it off, and they're still good to go. Alright, so these guys got attacked, and I'll note that on a roll basically of, like, you know, 8 or higher, we actually force the zombies back. So we actually force these guys back to the start space over here. And they're now right over there, like, at a start base of the mountain track. Now, I'll note by the way, you can't actually attack into, like, the start space, I don't think, for these guys, unfortunately. So we can't actually, like, you know, finish them off or anything, but whatever. They've been forced back into, like, you know, the start space over here. Though I should probably just read about that as well. On the bottom, there's like, you know, rulebook here, basically a basic game rulebook. So let's go here a little bit. So fighting, combat procedures. So both types of hand-to-hand follow basic procedure, but, you know, find initial columns, do all this sort of stuff here. And just looking around here for stuff. Basically, like, there's like lots of like little, like, you know, things you have to, like, keep in mind when you're basically like doing fights and stuff like that. So let's just see here. it back here? I'm not really sure. Alright, so. Alright, so star spaces. Hand-to-hand combat never takes place on a star space, nor can gunfire attacks be made into or from a star space. So yeah, I'll note by the way that even though I forced these guys back, these like, these zombies, you can't actually like, finish them off in like the star space, so they're unfortunately going to sit there, and that's basically going to be it for them because like, this rule right here. Star spaces. And yeah, you just read there if you want. Alright, so that was basically one of my player actions basically for the Farmville Furies there. We basically use these guys to push up and basically knock these guys back a little bit. Alright, so we still have basically 2 more event actions basically to make use of. We also basically have access to like, my stuff down here as well. I think I want to show off a Gunfire Attack. And probably the best person to do it would be like, Deputy Smith over here. So we're going to use this guy's initiative, I think. And we're going to move him up basically over here to find civilians. Now, there's essentially a strength 5 zombie over here. And Deputy Smith here is pretty good at fighting at long range basically. So let's just see here. I don't know by the way this guy gets like bonuses to hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that, but whatever. We're just going to use him for a range attack, which is basically like, this value up here. So, let's make a Gunfire Attack. And yeah, I accidentally hit the board again, but oh well. I'll note that when you use a Gunfire Attack, you use 1 ammo, and you spend an action, of course. Now, this guy basically has a strength of 4, so we basically go to the Gunfire Attack over here. And this is like the common we basically use. Gunfire is a lot more easier because basically you have to worry about terrain shifts or stuff like that. So we just basically roll up the first column here, and this is basically the amount of hits I'll basically be applying, depending like how well I do. So let's apply some hits here. All right, so I rolled a 10, and on a track of 4 here for like 10, you basically get 3 hits on them. So I'll note that with 3 hits, these guys can get automatically flipped over, so they're just down to their strength 4 side. And that's a very good roll, so that's awesome. I accidentally hit the F thing there, I guess, but well, that was a 10. So whatever. All right, so we basically damaged these Zeds down to like their wounded side, and we basically knock these guys back to the start space. Now, if I want to, I could try and finish these guys off, but we also have to worry about the zombies over here as well. So I want to possibly get I'll note by the way, it's not actually a bad thing to actually have these civilians get attacked. So I might just use Sheriff Hunt basically keep your leadership shipping them those guys around. So let's spend our leadership. And leadership here, of course. You basically use a civilian or referee unit basically to move around, do an action. So we'll basically make them to try and search around for a bit more ammo again. And I got a 1, because why not? So no go. We didn't get anything from them, so that's fine. All right, so let's see here. Alright, so I guess at this point I may want to try and get Sheriff Hunt to move up a little bit to try and do some gunfire attacks maybe on this guy to soften him up. Actually, what's his hand-to-hand combat like? I'll note that these guys are very good at hand combat. He's heroes sometimes, so he's also tough, this guy as well. Alright, so yeah, this guy can roll in hand to hand if he wants to. He's not as good in hand-to-hand as Deputy Smith here, but whatever. You know what? It probably won't be like the greatest like use for it, but I'm gonna move like Captain Piazza maybe up to the campground and move basically like, you know, Mr. Johnson up to the Lucky Strike mine. Maybe. Nah, that's not a great idea either. You know what? We're just gonna keep firing at these zombies here and try and finish them off. That's my plan for right now, I think. So, let's use Deputy Smith to basically fire at these like zombies again. We're just gonna try and finish these zombies off right now. Now, note by the way, like, you know, there's lots of like very like, you know, interesting like card effects the events cards can have, and it's generally not a good idea like to leave like wounded like enemies like this, or like to try and like finish enemies off. But you know, we're just gonna try and finish these guys off over here basically. So we'll roll again. And fire. Alright, so I rolled an 11. That's actually enough to basically automatically kill those guys, apparently. So, okay, so we just kill these zombies right here. That's fun. Alright, I wasn't expecting like for him to basically finish him off like, you know, immediately like that, but okay, that's fine. We still have a player action to make use of, so let's see here. I sort of want to keep Captain Piazza here in reserve because she's pretty useful to, like, you know, move into wherever you're in a hotspot, so to speak. Something I could actually probably do with her, by the way, is actually move her down to, like, you know, here. Just so I can, like, use her to, like, you know, move this, like, you know, this civilian here back press as well. That's something else I could do. But let's see here. You know what? I think with my like, you know, player action, we're gonna use Mr. Johnson, and we're just gonna use him to scavenge over here in the campground. Now, note that Mr. Johnson here is a really good scavenger, so he basically rolls 2 dice when he's doing foraging, and he basically picked like the highest dice for, like, you know, your action basically. So. Let's just see here. Alright, so he rolled a zombie and a 4. Right now he's on the campground, so that's really not good enough for, like, you know, what I want to basically do. So unfortunately he doesn't get anything for us, but whatever. Oh well. Alright, well, that's basically it for, like, you know, this turn. We actually managed to finish off the zombies down here, and we knocked back these ones over here. Let's see what the next turn basically holds. So housekeeping phase. Flip, flip, flip. And this is discard. Now, because I was actually at the end of phase over here, we get the goodies, of course, so. Goodies! And we got 2 ammo. So this goes up to 7 again. Alright, so that was an awesome turn. But I think it's about to get very bad. Alright, cardio. At the beginning of the phase, place 1 new Zed unit on an empty start space of your choice, if possible. Otherwise, place it on a start space with the lowest strength Zed unit. If and when a Zed unit enters a space occupied by any civilian or hero unit this turn, you may freely retreat that unit instead of engaging in hand-to-hand combat. Alright, so, note by the way that, like, this is basically going to be on a start space over here for, like, you know, the suburbs, so might as well just throw a zombie over here. Oops. I didn't actually, like, shuffle these. Alright, so, A 9 strength zombie unit basically appears in a Suburbs Track, which is like, you know, very, very scary. And it's going to basically activate twice over here. So he moves up to 6 strength, or to 6th street. And then he moves over here to East Arak. This has gone away. Alright, so if and when a Zed unit enters the space occupied by any civilian or hero units, this turn, you may free retreat. Guess what we're about to do? Bye-bye! Alright, so there's a big, strong, scary Zed unit over there. I could have tried to defend against that, but right again, my my hero's injured or my civilians injured, I ran away. So that's done. All right, so we're only gonna get one action for our event action here this time around. So let's throw this over here, and I probably didn't notice as well. You probably noticed that there's a symbol on here of like a Zed movement here. I'll note by the way that in this game there's like cooperative rules basically you can basically play if you want to, and the cooperative rules are basically over here. And basically like Zed pressure events as well as like Zed movement phase basically. And basically if it's basically playing with like multiple people or like playing with like multiple heroes, I guess, there'd be basically a Zed pressure movement phase. And this is basically where like the Zeds basically get to move extra for like the cooperative players being in the game. We're not playing with any cooperative players, so we're just gonna ignore it, but that'd be very bad basically, but whatever. This guy would actually be the one who actually would move in a cooperative game, but whatever. Alright, let's just get to our actual phase here. So, I got a 9 strength zombie unit over here, and that's scary. I really need to deal with that guy really, really fast. But, let's just see else what I'm going to do. Alright, so let's get Sheriff Hunt basically to get these guys to scavenge again, with his leadership. So we'll do that right away. And he got 6. Alright, so because we got 6 with one of our rolls here, we're basically gonna get some ammo. Hooray! We got ammo for the civilians. Good job. Alright, now these guys are big and scary. I think I want to weaken them before they get to me, so at this point, let's have deputies start spying at people, I guess. Again. Alright, so strength of 4 yet again. Let's see how it goes. Ouch. Now, note by the way in this game, if you roll high, it's good. If you roll low, it's bad. He rolled basically a free, which that's 0 damage. And one last ammo. An event. Hooray! I wasted ammo. Alright, well, we still have access to, of course, our initiative and event actions, so let's just try to soften them up a little bit more, I guess. So, we'll flip this over and fire again. Come on, Deputy Smith, fire again! There we go, a 10. And like before, a 10 is 3 hits, and zombies only have 6 hits, and of course, they take 3 hits to go over to our side, so this guy's now a 4 unit. That's a lot better than a 9 unit, I think, so that's fine by me. And let's just see here. I could try and finish this guy off, by the way, just these, Zeds here, but I think instead of doing that, let's get Mr. Johnson to move up to the Lucky Strike mine over here, I think. Yeah, let's get him to do that. And the reason I'm moving him up to there, by the way, is because if you go to Lucky Strike mine, you basically have a double chance basically to get ammo on a double 6 roll, or if you basically get 4s or 5s basically, which is nice. Very, very nice. Alright, so. Alright, so that's basically it for, I guess, like, you know, this turn. Now, with that basically played those 3 cards, that should be it for like the level 1 like events, by the way. Now we should be in the level 2 events. And there we go. And you know what? I think it's actually probably a good time basically to like, you know, sort of like include this episode. I'll basically like break this down to like the multiple episodes because this is actually a fairly long game to play. But before we do, how about I basically go over a little bit about these guys here, like these heroes we're basically playing with. So, starting out over here on like, you know, the right here with like my like, you know, my player character, Mr. Johnson. Here he is. Mr. Johnson is basically an old fella. And here's his backstory. Living in a cabin in the gap west of Leffy's Pass, Mordecai Johnson is a survivalist. Formerly a top analyst for the CIA and Russian cryptologist linguistics, he became convinced that the world was on an express elevator to hell. Climate change, peak oil, jihadists, corporate takeovers, genetic experiments, UFOs, WMDs, the black helicopters, 2012. They all merged in his fertile imagination to turn him into a classic paranoid conspiracy theorist. Having grown up near Farmingdale, he decided to leave the city and settle down in his own personal bunker in a mountainside near the old Elkhorns hunting lodge. I don't know, by the way, in this game, by the way, you actually like find like where stuff is, by the way, in this game. So let's just see here. That's St. Thomas. That's the farm over here. That's Bukesville, of course. Interesting. I thought this thing was actually named on here, but I guess it isn't. So, oh well, that's fine. Trained in practical medicine and well supplied with rations, ammo, and extraordinary survival gear, he's ready for anything. His experience at hunting has developed his trapping skills to new levels, and the land around him is always ready for intruders. Finding the old mine he'd explored as a kid now sealed off with barricades and barbed wire for public safety, the sign says. He's convinced that some conspiracy is brewing in his own backyard. Most people write him off as a nutcase, but those who know his history wonder if perhaps he might have figured something out that the rest of the world is hiding. Even paranoid conspiracy theorists can be right sometimes, and that one time is all it takes. So yeah, we're playing a conspiracy theorist in this game, but whatever. He's pretty useful. You already basically saw his first ability basically is a stockpile, so at the start of the game we basically get free ammo when it basically appears. And we also got a scavenging action with him as well. That's basically where you get to roll 2 dice instead of like the 1 dice, so basically you can see like the civilian. And like, you know, he basically gets to use like, you know, double roll basically for like, you know, his result action. On the way that Mr. Johnson is really weak, but he does have a very powerful gunfire attack because he basically has a, you know, a shift of 2. And he's also got practical medicine, so as an action, perform a heal action on any unit or adjacent you know, unit in his space, including himself, at the cost of 1 supply. So you'll actually see the practical medicine in use, but basically you can like, heal himself like, you know, the more advanced game. And then traps. That's something I'll be very interested to see when it gets to it. But traps basically allow this guy to like, you know, back up instead of like, you know, fighting hand to hand. And when he basically uses traps, he basically interests out like, you know, the Zed unit for like, you know, 1 hit. So it's pretty nice. All right, so that's Mr. Johnson. Here is Captain Piazza. The only girl in a family of 7 brothers living in Window Rock, Arizona, where her father worked as a government liaison with the Navajo Tribal Authority. Her desert upbringing was Maria Piazza's invitation to learn to shoot. And shoot she did, winning a number of regional competitions and performing as a trick shot artist. When an army recruiter approached her as she cradled her latest trophy in her arms, she saw a chance to put her talents to use in service for her country, a dedication her father had instilled in her. Navajo friends had taught her how to move with stealth and quickness, and this talent too assured her a fast track in the military as a scout sniper, able to shoot and scoot. finding new positions quickly from which to make new shots. After seeing service in various parts of the world, she was reassigned as an instructor at West Point. This suited her as it gave her time to pursue her other great interests, crafting beautiful jewelry in a natural way. She felt that she had found her niche in life as an artist and teacher until one day orders arrived, detaching her for special duty at a government lab in a place called Farmingdale. She had no idea what that duty might be, and she hated to leave the point, but in the army, orders are orders. Alright, so, from Arizona, this is Captain Piazza, and I'll note that she's very similar to like Mr. Johnson in stats, but she's basically a sniper, so she basically has like, gunfire attacks basically based on like, her range and stuff. Basically, at range of 3, she can basically fire, she can fire people, and it's pretty damn powerful as well, because like, she'd be like right here, and she'd be like, able to fire all the way up over here to like, strength, space of 2, for example. Now, I'll note that with like Captain Piazza here, basically she's always good to be like 2 spaces away, because like, that's when she basically gets like her best attack of like 4. Additionally, she really gets attack of 2, she's not that great at like, close range, but whatever. She's a sniper, what to expect. On the way, she has something called Overwatch, by the way. Basically lets her like, basically move and scoot, so to speak. So basically with Overwatch, she basically fires at something and like, she just moves away, basically. So it's really, really nice with this ability here, because basically she can move like to find civilians away from her, like, from where they are, which is very, very nice. Alright, so on the by our stuff as well, she has like, ammunition crafting. This basically lets her like, fire without like, using ammunition, which is very, very nice. And then military is basically like, for a versus game, which you don't really care about, but that's something she can do as well. And that is Captain Piazza. You haven't seen me use her yet, but I'll use her eventually, so we'll get to her when we get to her. Alright, so Deputy Smith. I'm going to read about this guy in a moment, but let's just read about Sheriff Hunt first here. Sheriff Brett Hunt is the hometown boy who went out to see the world and returned a hero. His charismatic leadership emerged early as he became a football star and a captain of a local high school team. Seeking adventure, he left Farmingdale to join the Navy, where his physical prowess and skills led him to join the Special Forces. As such, he participated in clandestine missions around the world, though primarily in the Middle East. Wounded in battle, he left the Navy to return to Farmingdale to recover. Regaining his strength and fitness and looking for something to do, he ran for election as sheriff and won easily. Lately, he has been making numerous trips to Washington, D.C., leading some in the town to suspect that he has never really left government service and may still be involved in black ops. When questioned by a local reporter, though, he simply smiled and said, "Well, there's a congressional election coming up, and I'm exploring the possibilities." Alright, so here's basically Sheriff Hunt, by the way. Now, I'll note that Sheriff Hunt here basically is his leadership ability, which basically lets him, like, order around civilians and refugees. And that's very, very useful. He also has long range, which basically lets him, like, make long range attacks, so he can basically fire like 2 spaces away and do quite a bit of damage, which is very, very nice. And it's also tough, by the way, so each time he basically reads a hit, he basically rolls a dice, and, he basically rolls his dice, basically you can see here, he has, like, a chance to, like, basically reduce the, the hit to nothing, which is, like, the same as the Farmingdale Furies over here. He's also got martial arts, which basically lets him re-roll in hand-to-hand combat, which is very, very nice if, like, you get a bad roll. And in law enforcement, that's basically used for, like, versus game, but we don't care about it, but it's there. Now let's move to Deputy Smith here. So, Deputy Robert Smith was raised in St. Thomas and spent the better part of his youth climbing the local mountains, wandering the forest, and even exploring the old mine. It came to no surprise when he earned his Eagle Scout badge. The wilderness seemed to be his second home. Filled with initiative, he also sought ways to be of service to his community. He became a Big Brother, Juneau Council member, and performed other acts of community service. After graduating high school, he enlisted in the Army and became an MP, serving with distinction in Iraq and in Afghanistan. When he was honorably discharged, he immediately returned to Farmingdale, where his police experience made him a natural run for sheriff. He lost that election to Hunt, who quickly hired him as his deputy and right-hand man. Smith conceded that he gave this gave him more attention for community projects, teaching martial arts, and for warrants he so enjoyed. So, here's Deputy Smith. This guy's basically the right-hand man of Sheriff Hunt here. And by the way, unlike Mordecai, by the way, you actually see where this guy is from because there's St. Thomas on the map right there, so that's his hometown right there. Anyhow, this guy basically gets initiative, so he basically gets to make a free character actions each turn. And he's also an Eagle Scout, so he basically receives a terrain shift when he basically does hand-to-hand combat, which is very, very nice. He's tough, much like Sheriff Hunt as well as the Farmingdale Furies, and he can basically negate damage. And of course, they also got martial arts, which basically lets him re-roll hand-to-hand combat. So this guy's basically a melee expert, and is really, really good at it. So we'll probably use him go melee in mid. One really hoping for this guy here is I actually want him to melee this zombie here, because basically he'll get terrain shift on this terrain here, and because he also got the martial arts, he'll also get boosts from that as well. So he'll crush these zombies basically if they come in the range of him by saying melee basically. So that's what I'm going to basically use him for. And of course, law enforcement, you basically can arrest in a versus game, but don't care about that, so whatever. And finally, the Farmingdale Furies, my fighting gal, so to speak, my brawlers. Known throughout the region for their toughness, Angela Fury and a roller derby team are fierce competitors in a rink and just as vicious when confronting the undead. These women, in their battling witches costumes, know how to take your lumps, but they're even better when it comes to dishing them and serving them up hot. No one skates the way they can. Now, Angela is leading her crew off to patrol the streets of Farmingdale, armed with baseball bats and steel rods, swooping down at speed like avenging furies, knocking a Zeds day encounter this way and that. And in their wake, their faithful manager Swiftly Sylvan remains busy promoting the team, reminding the locals that they owe their lives to the timely arrival of ferocious Farmingdale Furies, and that next season's tickets are now on sale. And yes, they're the brawlers. Basically, they can't make gunfire attacks, but they're powerful enough to kick some ass, and they're tough. And yeah, that's basically our heroes there, as well as the first turn. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's just save it here. And next time, we'll continue from here. So take care.